Welcome to ePathshala lecture series on computer science. In this module, we will be discussing about evolution of analytical processes. So, in this module, what is that we are going to understand and analyze? We will be understanding the evolution of analytical processing, how it has evolved. Then we will be learning about various configurations of analytical frameworks, and finally, we will know about various types of analytical data sets. So, to start with, we will first have an introduction towards what exactly is required for a perfect analytical environment or framework. Actually speaking, though we have good amount of data, but if we are running the analysis in the same old manner, it will not result in good results. So, what is that we need to do is we need to upgrade technologies. Even if we upgrade technologies, but if we are still depending on the same old way of analyzing the data, even then we will not be ending up with good results. Therefore, what is that we need to do is we need to change the way in which we are doing the analysis. So, what exactly is needed for the new analytical environment? So, the first thing is we need to change the process of configuring and maintaining the workspace. So, fundamentally we need to end up with say an analytical framework that might provide users a flexible and more easy way by which they can reshape the data and do any form of analysis. So, we need to provide them a workspace, and fundamentally this workspace can be considered as the analytic framework. Then we need to consistently leverage a database platform through this framework. So, what we are trying to do is we are trying to provide an enterprise analytic data set, in short called as EADS. So, we need to have a perfect data set in terms of quality, and then we need to provide this data set through this analytic framework to the users or to the business experts. And finally, we need to keep scoring up to date on daily basis, and this scoring need to be embedded, and this is fundamentally called as embedding scoring. So, we need to have an embedded scoring process or routine which must be updated on a daily basis. If all these three are done in a proper way, then we may end up with a very effective analytical processing environment or framework. So, what exactly is this analytical framework? So, analytical framework is fundamentally a set of resources that enable analytical professionals or expert to experiment and reshape data in whatever fashion they need. Why this is required is whenever we want to do an analysis, we need to have the data represented as per the requirement, and certain algorithms might require the data in certain structure. So, fundamentally we need to reshape the data, or we need to transform the data, or do some kind of transformation over the data for the purpose of doing the analysis. So, the experiments may be decided by the experts, as well as molding the data as per the requirements will also be done in a very flexible manner by the experts. So, this analytical framework is nothing but a set of resources that will help in achieving the experimentation as well as reshaping of a data in a more flexible manner. So, what exactly is required for this? We need to have proper data exploration. So, what is data exploration? Data exploration is actually a process by which we try to identify what exactly is necessary for our analysis, because during the process of data collection we might collect relevant as well as irrelevant data necessary for our analysis. So, what is that we need to do is we need to narrow down to the relevant data which might be essential for the given analysis. So, that is fundamentally called as data exploration. Then we need to develop an analytical process which is very effective in nature. So, what exactly we are trying to do is we are trying to identify an analytical process that might suit for the given data which has been collected, and then we need to have proof of concepts. Proof of concept is fundamentally identifying say a methodology and then proving whether that methodology can be useful for a given scenario, or whether it can be applied in other scenarios or in a big scale. So, we need to have proof of concepts and then prototypes that might be useful for visualizing the application or the given analytical environment in a broader perspective. So, this analytical framework should support all these things, only then we can have an effective analytical environment. So, you should have flexible data exploration, you should have good analytical processing capability, then we should have proof of concepts and then prototyping, and all these 4 parameters need to be supported by this analytical framework. Now, when we talk about this analytical framework, there are different configurations related with this analytical framework. The first type of configuration is an internal configuration. What exactly it means is, say we might have an enterprise wide data warehouse. In that enterprise wide data warehouse, we may have all the data already consolidated in the form of summary tables and also quality data available in various schemas. Now, apart from this, what is it we are going to do is, we are going to have or reserve a space separately for the purpose of doing analytics or analysis. So, we will be space, that is we will be allocating a separate space inside the analytical environment, that is my enterprise wide data warehouse environment, for the purpose of accommodating additional data as well as for the purpose of running the analysis. So, this configuration which is given in the slide is an example for internal configuration of analytical framework. So, here a portion of an enterprise wide data warehouse or the data mart is carved out for the purpose of analytical framework. So, this separated environment which is separately allocated will be used or will be serving for the purpose of running the analysis. What are the advantages and disadvantages of internal configuration? So, first let us discuss about the various strengths and then the weaknesses. The strength is, already we have hardwares and softwares part of our enterprise wide data warehouse. So, we can make use of the same hardwares as well as softwares towards managing the internal framework. The ability to directly join production data is another advantage, because the production data is already available in our enterprise wide data warehouse. So, whenever a requirement comes, we can take the data and we can directly perform a join on the production data, and this can happen completely inside the enterprise wide data warehouse, since the analytical framework is going to be internal to the enterprise wide data warehouse or data mart. The third strength is, it is cost effective, because we are in no need of any extra hardware or software. Therefore, it is going to be cost effective. What are the weaknesses? Whenever we are allocating a separate space completely inside the data warehouse itself for the purpose of analytical processing, then it is going to be an additional load on the enterprise wide data warehouse, because the enterprise wide data warehouse might have been planned for the purpose of running analysis in various environments or for various purposes. But when we are coming up with an internal analytical framework completely inside the enterprise wide data warehouse, naturally it is going to be an overload. The second weakness is, it can be constrained by production policies and procedures. For example, inside the data warehouse, we might be restricting the movement of data based on user access or based on user roles. Now, the same policies will also be applicable on the internal analytical configuration, because it is part of the enterprise wide data warehouse. Therefore, certain kind of operations or certain kind of transformations on the data or certain type of accessing even cannot happen inside this configuration. So, these are all certain weaknesses associated with internal configuration of analytical framework environment. The next type of framework configuration is external configuration. In this external configuration, it is not same as internal, because in internal we have allocated a space completely inside the enterprise wide data warehouse. In external configuration, it is the opposite of it. Instead of allocating space inside the internal environment, we are going to completely allocate a separate environment, and in that separate environment, data as well as analysis will be made available. So, it is going to be completely external to the enterprise wide data warehouse or data mart. So, what happens here is, we will be ending up with a physically separate analytical framework, which will be used for the purpose of testing and development of analytical processes. So, the diagram over here will provide you a complete picture about external configuration. Now, when we are going in for such an external configuration, what might be the strength and what might be the weakness? Since this is going to act as a standalone environment, we require additional hardware as well as software. So, therefore, it is going to be an overhead in terms of investment. So, we want to have the standalone environment more secured. So, we need to invest more towards the security of that standalone environment, and it is not going to provide any impact on the other processes. Since this is going to be a standalone environment, it is not going to provide any impact on any other process that is currently happening in the enterprise wide data warehouse. Because inside an enterprise wide data warehouse, there may be processes related with extracting, transforming and then loading, and then there may be shipping of data within the data warehouse, summarizing or aggregating the data, and query as well as results to be provided for those queries. So, there will be query profiling coming into picture. For all these processes, there will not be any hindrance, because the configuration is completely outside that of the enterprise wide data warehouse. Then we have reduced workload management, because this is going to be a standalone configuration. We are not going to have any workload on the or additional workload on the enterprise wide data warehouse. Therefore, we always have a reduced workload with respect to management of this data. What are the weaknesses? As I already mentioned, additional cost of the standalone system, and in certain scenarios shipping of data will be there. So, when we are trying to do the analysis, we might have the data available in the enterprise wide data warehouse environment or in the data marts. Therefore, what need to happen is we need to bring in such data to the standalone environment for the purpose of running the analysis, and hence shipping of data will come into picture. When shipping of data comes into picture, naturally we need to take into consideration the security. So, therefore, lot of processes or auditing processes need to be brought into picture for the purpose of securing the data. The third type of configuration is a hybrid configuration, which is actually a combination of internal as well as external configuration. So, what exactly happens is we will be having a combination of internal and external configuration. When we are having such combination, the processes need to be split properly, because certain things need to happen external to the enterprise wide data warehouse and certain things must happen within the enterprise wide data warehouse. So, what exactly happens is normally experts will try to have the extracted data in the internal environment, and then they will ship the extracted information for the purpose of running the analysis to the external framework. So, this is actually an example for hybrid configuration. Now, what are the advantages and disadvantages of hybrid configuration? Flexibility in the approach taken for an analysis is going to be a strength. The reason is, since we are combining both internal as well as external, flexibility with respect to taking the data, doing the transformation as well as shipping and also running the analysis becomes very easy and flexible. Then we can run any pseudo production mode in this environment. What are the weaknesses? We can maintain both internal and external sandbox environment. So, when we want to maintain both the internal as well as external data, naturally the maintenance cost increases as well as more number of processes for the purpose of security will also come into picture. Then two-way data feeds sometimes may come into picture, and this will add to the complexity of the given environment. So, these are all certain weaknesses. Now, having seen these three configurations, now we will have to identify which type of configuration will aptly suit for our environment, and accordingly we will have to use such configuration for the purpose of evolving the analytical environment. Now, what are the benefits of having an analytical framework? So, the benefits from the perspective of analytical professionals are, we have provided an independence towards running the analysis. There is completely everything is going to be flexible with respect to the analytical professional. The analytical professional comes up or ends up with a very effective analysis. Then the analytical professional has the freedom to choose the relevant data or the right data for the analysis, and the speed with which the analysis can happen is going to be very high. So, these are all certain benefits that we might get because of having such an analytical framework. Then from the perspective of IT, we are bringing in more of centralization, streamlining of data, simplicity in terms of representing the data, as well as the control becomes too easy because it is going to be streamlined, and finally, the cost, sometimes it may be high. So, these are all the various parameters from which we will have to look whether it is going to be an advantage or disadvantage from an IT perspective. Practically speaking, from all these perspectives, it is only going to be a benefit to the IT environment. Having understood clearly what is an analytical framework, next we will know what is an analytical data set, why it is required. Now, we need to pull data from different sources and then we need to provide this data in a cleaned format for the purpose of doing the analysis. So, we need to actually create a model and we need to feed the data to this model for running the analysis. So, we need to have a format in which the data need to be provided to the model, because when we are running an analysis, the analysis is going to be a procedural method. So, that procedure might require the data in certain format. So, all that we need to do is we need to collect the data, then put the data in the format that is required for running the analysis. Then we need to generate the data by transforming and aggregating and then combining the data. Why these three things are essential is, when we collect data from more than one source, naturally we need to put them together for the purpose of running our analysis. So, we need to combine the data that we collect from different data sources. Then the data sources from which we collect the data fundamentally will be having different formats or underlying structure for the purpose of holding the data. Therefore, when we collect the data, it will be heterogeneous in nature. In other words, the data will be completely different structured, will be having different structures with respect to their data sources. So, when we want to run the analysis, all that we need to do is we need to transform data from one structure to another structure or from one format to another format for the purpose of running the analysis. Hence, we need to do some kind of transformation on the data. That is the reason why transformation is essential. And then we need to aggregate. Since we are collecting data from variety of sources as well as from more than one source, majority of the sources can provide, say, redundant information. So, all that we need to do is we need to sort out and then we need to aggregate them. Aggregate here in the sense provide a summary of the data that is collected. So, we need to transform, aggregate and then combine the data for the purpose of providing proper analysis. And then we need to provide bridging of the gap between efficient storage and ease of use. This is actually going to be an important problem which is faced by majority of the people who are involved in analytics. The reason is, when we are trying to deal with a very large size data, then we must have cheap storage and also such storage must be very efficient in terms of providing easy access. So, when we go in for higher storage environment for the purpose of holding voluminous data, naturally we need to end up with different kinds of accessing techniques and we need to provide proper way in which the data may be structured and accessed very effectively. So, there will always be a compromise between the amount of money that is spent towards structuring the data as well as the time taken towards accessing the data. So, in an analytical environment, before providing the data for the purpose of analysis, all that we need to do is we need to find the relevant data, we need to put the data in a proper format that is required for the analysis, we need to transform, aggregate and then combine the data, and finally, we need to bridge the gap between efficient storage and ease of use. There are actually two types or kinds of analytical data sets. One is development analytical data set, another one is production analytical data set. Fundamentally, we have data in different tables or these can even be considered as the base tables. From these base table, what is that we need to do is we need to derive, aggregate, combine and then transform the data that is suitable for the purpose of doing the analysis. So, we might end up as a result of these operations with a narrow and deep data or a wide and shallow data. Now, when it is going to be narrow and deep, then the data is represented by production ADS. If it is going to be wide and shallow, then the data set is called as development analytical data set. Now, what are the differences between these two type of data sets? When it is used by and built by an analytical process, or in other words, when the data is going to be used for the purpose of building an analytical process, then we call that as development ADS. And these development ADS will have many variables or metrics within it for the purpose of analyzing and then for the purpose of defining the quality of the data. And this analytical data set, development analytical data set will be very wide and it will not be deep. In other words, it will be having many variables, that is the reason it is very wide, and it will not be covering in depth information. So, therefore, analytical data set which is going to be developmental in nature will be wide rather than very deep. Production analysis data set actually is closely related with scoring and deployment, and it contains only few or very specific metrics with which the quality of data can be analyzed. The reason is the amount of variables which is going to be held as part of such data set will be very minimal. Therefore, the width of the data set will not be very high, but it will be covering more number of instances. Therefore, we will be having a greater depth into the data. So, when the data is not wide, but very deep, then it will be considered as a production analysis data set. So, all that we need to do is we need to have either a production analysis data set or end up with say a development analysis data set for the purpose of doing the analysis. Now, having identified the type of analytical data set that we are going to use for the purpose of analysis, then we should know exactly how an enterprise analytical data set will differ from a traditional analytical data set, and we can easily understand how this enterprise analytical data set has evolved. So, a traditional analytical data set actually is going to be very simple in nature, and it is always going to be created outside the database. So, what exactly happens is, whenever a professional is going to run an analysis, each and every professional will end up with their own data sets. Therefore, the data sets will be independent of each other. Now, the risk over here is the data set that is compiled by one professional or one expert might be completely inconsistent with respect to the data which is collected by another professional. The reason may be the time at which the data were collected or the time at which the data was composed. And finally, you may always find more amount of redundancies among the data that has been created by these analytic professionals, because they are going to collect the data independent of the other. Therefore, the data collected by one professional might be redundant with respect to the other professional, and the process that is involved over here, it is going to be repetitious in nature. Now, this is represented diagrammatically as shown in this slide. So, we have a traditional analytic data set in which different sets of data are created or composed by different analytical professionals at different points of time, and there is going to be a dedicated analytical data set which will be generated outside the database for every project, and such data set will only be accessed by the various analytical framework environment. But an enterprise analytical data set should avoid all the drawbacks that we discussed as part of traditional data set. So, in traditional data set, we found inconsistencies and redundancies will come into picture. So, to avoid that, what is that we need to do is, we need to have a centralized way in which we can handle the data. So, we should have a standardized view of data to support multiple analysis effort. The process need to be streamlined, the process here in the sense the preparation process. Then it must provide more amount of consistency, accuracy and visibility to the analytical process. Once the data is collected and it is streamlined with respect to the preparation process, then it will be easy for us to handle. Therefore, the data will be built once and then it will be used many times. So, in the enterprise analytical data set, as explained before, can be visualized diagrammatically as shown in this slide. So, we can have different analytical data sets created, then they will be put inside a centralized framework, so that any analytical processing environment can access this centralized framework for the purpose of having data. Thereby what happens is, any analytical professional or any analysis that we run on different environments will work only on a consistent data that is available as part of this centralized environment. This slide actually provides you an idea of what may be an EDA set and what is its structure. Logically, taking a look at this structure, we may find details put together. For example, a customer analytical data set table. In this table, we have the customer details like the total sales performed, total purchases, whether the customer is owner of a house, the gender, whether the customer will respond to a mail, and what are the options provided in email with respect to this customer. But practically speaking, all this information cannot be held together in the physical environment. The reason, there may be few customer for whom they may not have or own a house. There may be customer who might not respond to mails. Therefore, such fields will be having empty information, or even sometimes an inconsistent information may be made available. Therefore, in the physical environment, we need to have tables separated out. So, the same information which is available as part of the logical view can be split into 3 in the physical view. So, we can have the customer sales having the customer detail like the total sales and purchases. Then we can have the customer demographics separately like the customer, whether the customer owns a house, the gender of the customer. Then we can have the customer sales having details like whether the customer is a mail responder and whether the customer will opt for emailing. So, all such clear distinction need to be there in the physical view. So, what exactly we are trying to say here is certain things that we view from the application perspective or from the perspective of say analysis cannot be actually held completely in the physical view. Certain things need to be separated out. Now, when we have a complete data set like this, one more drawback there is when we are trying to update, updations cannot happen properly. But if we have the data in a normalized environment, naturally updations will happen properly. When we are trying to provide the data in such a format or in such a structure, which one should we depend? Should we have a summary table or should we go in for view? Normally, summaries are aggregations, and these aggregations are going to be put into say table format. Now, all that we can do is whenever we want to run an analysis, we can depend on a summary which has been already generated and kept ready for answering the query. So, now what happens is when we want to run a query, we need not go to the detailed environment, extract or pull the relevant data, come up with a proper structure and then run the analysis over the structure. Instead, we can direct the query directly to the table where we have the summary, and the time in which we get the result will be very minimal. So, therefore, summary tables can be used whenever certain analysis is going to be repetitive in nature. But what are the downsides? Whenever we are having a summary table, the summary table need to be updated. So, updation of summary tables is very time consuming as well as costly. In certain scenario, what happens is the indices that we are using for summary tables might not be frequently used, and therefore, at certain point of time we need to drop the indices which has been already created, and then we will have to recreate indices. So, these are all certain downsides related with summary table. Apart from this, certain summary tables might not be accessed frequently. So, such summary tables when are saved in the enterprise wide data warehousing environment will result in unnecessary wastage of space. Then what is that we should do is we can depend on views. Views are completely going to be updatable. So, whenever we want the data, we can always generate a view which can provide a fresh information. So, this fresh information will be an updated information, and normally we will have a good performance in real time analysis, and the changes which are made will be immediately reflectable, and hence we will always end up with an updated data. The consistency and transparency of computations also becomes very simple. What are the downsides of a view? Downside with respect to the view is amount of memory which is going to be used must be reduced, because normally views are going to be Cartesian products. So, when we are generating Cartesian products, unnecessarily it is going to consume amount of space from the environment, storage environment, and we have to wait longer to get the answer which is not the same in terms of summary tables. So, we will have to decide are we going to make use of a summary table or a view. And finally, we will have to deal with scoring routines. So, scoring is actually a routine or a procedure by which we identify what has been an output of analysis and can it be embedded in the data set that is underlying. So, we need to apply the analytics that is developed with the current data set, and this process is actually called as scoring. So, when we want to embed scoring, we need to deploy each and every individual scoring subroutine. For that, we need to have a proper controlling mechanism. So, we need to have a process to manage and track various scoring routines. Now, scores can be actually run in batches. We may end up with real time scoring. Scoring actually abstracts complexity from the user, and all the models that is contained in the centralized repository can always be in one place, and thereby we can have a centralized accessing. So, these are all certain benefits that we get out of embedded scoring. And finally, we need to have a model definition and score management for the purpose of ending up with proper analysis. So, we have the analytic data set inputs, we define the model, we do a model validation and reporting, and finally, we model scoring the outputs. So, in summary, we have discussed about different configurations related with analytical framework, what are the various types of analytical data sets, how they can be pulled from the data underlying, and what can be done for with the help of the data which we have collected as part of our analysis, and finally, how a complete enterprise wide data warehouse can be generated for analysis. And we also discussed about two types of analytical data sets, and as per the business requirement, we will have to end up with a type of data set which might suit best for the analysis. Thank you.